All right, everybody, that's our signal to find a place to sit. I want to give a warm thanks to our quartet for bringing us here and playing us in to the space. And for all of you who came early and did some packing downstairs at the West Side Campaign against hunger, thank you for that. Made Doreen's heart smile wherever Doreen is. So I want to say welcome. My name is Kay Carpin. I'm one of the pastors here at St. Paul and St. Andrew and a longtime friend of Doreen. I first met Doreen back in 1992 when she came here to the church to interview with the church personnel committee for the job of director of the West Side Campaign against hunger. It's fair to say she charmed the pants off everyone, except me. Doreen and I warmed up to each other more slowly, but soon I'd become not only a friend and a colleague, but also a big admirer of everything and everyone that Doreen was. I'm the same age as her son, Michael, and Doreen would often draw comparisons between us, usually not to my advantage. Yeah, but she and I enjoyed each other's company very much at work and beyond work. Still, Doreen could be brusque. I know that's shocking. And I almost said blunt. And she and I went head to head on a few things over the years. One memorable day, I explained to her very nicely that she couldn't just co-opt space that the senior citizens program was using. And she responded, "You know I'm British, and we're colonizers." And I said, "Doreen, you can't say that." Yeah, subtle. One evening, about 20 years ago, she cornered me and Ken Guess, who was the chair of the trustees, downstairs in the social hall. She said, "Look at this place. It's a wreck. This is terrible." And she wasn't wrong. It was like one of the 10 worst church basements on the face of the planet. And I said, "You're right, but we have no money to fix it." She said, "Well, let's raise it." And that began this years-long collaboration among the three of us, along with a lot of other people, some of whom are here right now, and resulted in a complete renovation of the lower level of the church. Doreen could be fierce, but always in support of the people that she considered the most important people, WSCA's customers, the people and families who were coming to WSCA for help. One day, she announced, "We're not giving out bags of food to people anymore." I said, "Oh?" She said, yeah, there's no dignity in that. We're going to lay out all the food on shelves, and people will come and choose for themselves what they need. People know better than we do what they need. They should have the right to choose. And so was born the first customer choice food pantry in the country. I have so many yes, amen. Yeah, exactly. I have so many Doreen memories. I'm only going to offer a couple because we're going to hear from a bunch of different people, and even if we have time at the end, and I expect we will, a chance for anybody to offer a short snippet or a story who feels moved. But here's two quickies. I had asked her once to come to our interfaith Thanksgiving Eve service, which was here, and announce the offering, which was for Wisca. She got up and she said, hundreds of people come here each week for food. It isn't right. People need support. They need jobs. They need a fair and just economy. They need government to do its job. It's a crime that people have to come here for food. I whispered, yes, but meanwhile, it would be great if people could write a check. My fondest memory was almost exactly 8 years ago, after she had retired and after she'd undergone some health challenges, and she decided to hop on board our church bus that was going to DC for the first Women's March. And I have this image of Doreen pushing her walker for miles up East Capitol Street, around the Capitol, across the mall, and up Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. I'll only say that President Trump should be glad he wasn't home that day. This past fall, hearing that she wasn't doing so great, Charlene and I went to visit her at her place on 77th Street and spend some time together with her. She was fading a little bit, a little fuzzy on a few details, like when she moved to the US and why she came here in the first place, but there were two things that she was crystal clear about. One was, of course, her family and what everybody was up to, what everybody was doing. And the second was every single detail of everything that was happening in and around Wisca. But that was Doreen. Doreen, I love you, and I miss you. We're going to begin with a delightful video that we're going to view together that was put together by Norm and the family.
Customers knew what they needed to be eating. It wasn't the lack of knowledge. They had that knowledge. It was that they didn't have the money.
Our mother had an impact on people's lives, and she left the world a better place. It's been gratifying to hear from so many of you. She worked within the civil rights and settlement house movements and here at the West Side Campaign Against Hunger. Mom had an innate moral compass and was always up for a protest. Growing up, other children would go to the movies. We went to the March on Washington or to a sit-in. There's a picture of me in the New York Times when I was just 9 months old at a protest in Brooklyn, wearing a sign that said, "Keep our backyards free of factories." Our homes in Columbus, Ohio, and here in New York City were always a gathering place for friends, colleagues, stray students, and travelers. They were in many ways an extension of the community centers where Mom and Dad worked. It seemed we always had people living with us or stopping by for a meal, advice, or conversation.
Many of the people who came to the apartment on West 77th Street, especially our friends growing up, knew about the Swiss cowbell. When it was time for dinner, she would lean out the 15th floor window and ring it to let Michael and I know it was time to come in. So embarrassing.
So embarrassing.
We always had an open house at the apartment the night before Thanksgiving, when the Thanksgiving Day parade balloons were blown up. One year, a guest had trouble getting in, and Mom wasn't having it. She went down in her shirt sleeves to sort it out when a police officer gave her a problem. She promptly threw her cup of coffee at him. They threw her in the back of a squad car and hauled her over to the 20th precinct, where my dad had to bail her out.
She was a bit of a rebel and mischievous. During the summer, we would vacation at Schroon Lake in the Adirondacks, where she liked to skinny dip. One day, after a good swim across the lake, she and a few others did a homemade spa treatment and covered themselves in clay from the lake. They were sun-drying on the beach, which was deserted, by the way, when a police officer showed up to inform her that public nudity was against the law. Thankfully, she was not arrested that time. Mom was a force, curious, adventurous, tough and righteous, but also incredibly tender and caring. We found files in the house with every letter my sister and I wrote her from camp, every report card from kindergarten on, school essays and newspaper clippings about our achievements.
Family mattered to her, and she defined it broadly, from her classmates at Sidcutt and her British relatives to the students who she adopted and many travelers who came to stay with her, to her Ohio Book Club, who she met with every month, up until her death. She loved people. When she flew to see us in California, she would arrive knowing the life story of the person she sat next to on the plane. Mom especially loved her grandchildren. She loved Olivia's vivacity and spark. She admired Jordan's tenacity and style. She was so impressed by Corey's resilience and determination. And she was touched by Emma's kindness and the way Em cared for her, especially at the end.
Mom was generous, but also quite frugal. Growing up, we would always get our Christmas tree on Christmas Eve because that's when you got the bargains. We got a good laugh when we received a note from Thomas Lane after Mom passed, who shared that he had stayed with her one Christmas Eve and remembered her, quote, metal and style when buying a Christmas tree. He said she told a few sellers, "I'm talking about $5.
Maximum. Given that, we were shocked to see that she had a bit of a shoe obsession. We found a dozen boxes of brand new Mephisto shoes in her closet. I don't know if you know the brand. They're very comfortable and quite expensive. To be fair, Mom had difficult feet, very high arches and small, size 5.5. That happens to be the same size as her grandchildren, Emma and Jordan. And it would give her great joy to know that they are now quite literally walking in her shoes. We celebrate you, Mama, and we love you.
We'll miss you.
Yeah.
I am Olivia, one of the granddaughters. If you've ever been to Grandma's apartment, you'll know, because my face is there the most. I have the most baby pictures, just so you know. Sorry, Jordan, who doesn't have many. But I was there a lot, I will say. Just, hi, this is Emma, of course. Yeah, so here we go. I guess we all never thought this day would actually come, because she really felt immortal in a lot of ways. Okay. Grandma loved people and things and experiences, and she took the best care of them. This is evident because look at everybody here and that apartment, which is like a Wunderkammer of everything she's created and her life's treasures. It's amazing. The archive that she's created of her life and maintained is professional. I mean, the photos you saw, this cabinet that we found that is just so organized of Michael's 4th grade drawings, and it goes on from there. So you can only imagine. It's amazing, amazing. Diaries, her father's diary, she would read to me sometimes, toys that are from I don't even know when, that are still here. Photos, love letters, dated all the way back to her father's youth. Everything is kept, and it's organized and clean and pristine. And it's just a testament to how much she cared about preserving everything and memories and people. Yeah. She knew that she and the life that she lived was remarkable. She left us with the detailed evidence as just another cheeky way of inspiring us to live our lives as full as one can. I lived with Grandma a couple times in my life, around college and after. Has anyone else lived with Grandma in this room? Anybody? A couple? Yeah, there we go. Hey, guys. You know. As they said, her home was open to anyone. If you met her on a plane or gardening or something, it was open. She was the one adult in my life that always treated me like one too. She respected my individual decisions as a human like I was anyone. Even if she personally disagreed or had a snarky remark, she allowed people to live exactly how they wanted to. And she wanted that for everybody, obviously, as we all do. We spent so much valuable time together, from being little and imaginative in the pool in Florida to countless museum and lunch dates around the city with my friends and her friends, where she believed her wheelchair was synonymous with like VIP access to wherever you go. And it worked. It's great. You should use it. You got it, flaunt it. Sundays spent at the flea market and cooking, oh my God, cooking hundreds and hundreds of dinners with her in that red kitchen, to which I can't go into yet. You can tell that she took her time on earth very seriously, and as precious and as playful as it is. You know, she transcends all of this, but earth was important to her and we were important, and it was amazing. When I broke my knee in 2020, I moved back in with Grandma for a bit as my 5th floor walk-up was not working for me. Every day, my amazing partner, Ketten, would come and bring me various groceries and Lego, whatever, things to do in bed. And I got to watch him meet her as an adult and, like, you know, fall in love and, like, admiration of this, you know, not as my grandma, separate from that. It was, like, an amazing thing. Yeah. She was just such an organized force. It was hard not to be more than affected by her presence. When I was upset over the most recent election results, I called my political confidant for some sympathy and group loathing. She answered my cries with, "One must go through something like this. At least he's got a little more experience this time." I did not like this answer. The constant realism will surely be missed. And Grandma's life is, her long, long, fruitful life is a constant reminder of the importance of perspective, because she's seen so much, way worse maybe than we've seen yet. And besides, we all know she'd finagled that Walker front row at the protest. I'm just really honored to be a part of this family and to have loved her and have her loved me, and it's just amazing. She's amazing. Thank you.
I'm here. That was really well said. Okay. I had a very difficult time writing this speech for today. If you know my grandmother, you understand that it's really hard to summarize how vibrant her personality is in so many words. Many people here know her as an advocate. Her work at the West Side Campaign Against Hunger spanned many years and helped so many families put food on their tables. But to me, she was Grandma Doreen. Sorry. Grandma Doreen, who I remember when I was growing up, would always arrive to our house with a intricate carpet in tow. Grandma Doreen, who gave me clip-on earrings after I cried because I was too young to have my ears pierced. Grandma Doreen, who would draw chalk flowers, thank you, would draw chalk flowers with me on our back patio or help my Polly Pockets into their outfits for their fashion show. It wasn't until I was out of college and in New York that I got to spend more time with my grandmother. Sorry. I'm so grateful for that time. Sorry. My grandmother was a deeply compassionate, tender, and kind woman, especially towards her granddaughters. When I first moved to New York City, she took me to museums. She would appreciate art in the Whitney, or we would appreciate art in the Whitney and the gemstones in the Natural History Museum. We would play the game, which gemstone would you buy? And we determined that we would probably want them all. Usually we would see each other on Sundays. She would put out chocolate and espresso on the kitchen table, and we would swap stories. I would tell her latest developments at work, roommate drama, anything and everything going on in my life. In turn, she would tell me about her book club, the history of her family tree, and heroic stories from her past. Sometimes we sat and we watched PBS News and just enjoyed the presence of each other's company. She was an encyclopedia of knowledge. She taught me how to cook with seasonal vegetables, how to achieve a wrinkle-free sheet, and how to bargain at the flea market. And as these Sundays continued, New York felt a little bit kinder, knowing that Grandma Doreen was only one train ride away. Sorry. There is an irreplaceable hole in the heart of all the people who knew her. Simply put, there will never be another person quite like my grandmother.
Simply put.
Simply put. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Jan? Flory, is Jan here? Oh, you are. Great, come on up.
Hello. I'm Jan Flory. I'm representing the Ohio contingent today. As you've heard, there's tons of stories, My first encounter with Doreen was after a summer up at Triple S Camp, which was affiliated with Southside Settlement, where Bernie, Doreen, and Michael and Carla had come in the late 50s, I think, originally. Early 60s? 60s, okay, early 60s. This was the fall of 1965, and for some reason, I was helping Doreen do the laundry at home, at their home. And we were folding towels, And these towels were so thick and so fluffy and luxurious. And I must have made some comment about them, whereupon Doreen turned to me and said, "Jan, yes, we work on social issues, we are working on peace, we are working on income equity. That does not mean we should not enjoy quality and beauty in our lives. The point is that everyone is deserving of having that same opportunity that we have." That was lesson number one. The settlement was the hub of things that were going on in Columbus around the family and around many of us. But Doreen had her other interests. She was instrumental in developing a coalition to raise the aid-dependent children rates in Ohio, which were abysmal. And people now, as we were talking about it, remember that she pulled together. There were the unions, there were the church groups, there were the white ladies suburban groups, there were civil rights. You know, she was instrumental. She understood how to pull that kind of group together. Dave Hetzler, who had been a camp counselor, remembers that she sort of pulled him into this. And even then, data and understanding the why and the information that people would need to understand this issue was so important. And Dave said, you know, somehow she conned me into working really hard. I didn't expect to work so hard on this. But Doreen swooped her in. The other thing that I remember in those early days, in the spring of 1966, there was, I believe, perhaps the first peace march in Columbus, Ohio, which is the capital of the state. There were 30 or 40 of us marching toward the State House. And Doreen's propensity for marches has already been mentioned a lot. So that was maybe the first march. But the featured speaker was Norman Thomas. Now, for us, in New Yorkers, that might not be so amazing, but in Columbus, Ohio, in the mid-'60s, Norman Thomas coming to speak was a very big deal and very controversial, which we know Doreen would not back away from. Let's see, next. I'm going to talk about marches next because I moved to New York in 1999 for a number of years, and Doreen and I went to many marches. It's already been mentioned, her walker. She knew we would join the march at 77th and Central Park West, but we would be back, you know, somewhere, and we would not be up where the speakers were. And Doreen would take that walker and she would just plow ahead. That her accent, her determination in that walker would get us. We would be at the front, or we would say, I think there's a better spot across the street, and we would manage to do that. And I think it was just mentioned, but it's exactly 8 years ago today was the March on Washington, and Doreen was there, and with everything that you've said. Back to Columbus, and a little bit more about that. This is from Marty Abel, who was another colleague. We were young VISTA volunteers and social work students bursting with social idealism. We had ideas, but no clue as to what to do with them. Doreen and Bernie changed that. They taught us not only principles of social and economic justice, but also a process for a diverse community of people to work toward these goals. She insisted that we include people of different races and cultures in our work and social groups. The outcomes would be better and our lives richer. After our settlement experience, Doreen inspired us to take jobs in child welfare, housing, healthcare, and legal aid. What we had learned helped us to define our values and fueled our careers. After the Wohls moved back to New York City in 1972, I think that is a correct date, there was a steady stream of visitors from Columbus. We all loved to come and camp out in the former maids' little room. Doreen would have lots of ideas about what to do and where to go and what to see, but then we were on our own, and those visits and those times were precious, including folks in Columbus who remember being able to look down on blowing up the balloons before the Thanksgiving parade and then going out and watching the parade the next day. All fond memories. I want to say that, Doreen, there will be a lot said about shared values and our life's work and the things that we shared in those kind of ways. But the other thing about Doreen, and then living here in New York for a while, she loved the city. She loved the museums. She loved the concerts, the plays. We went to many, many plays. And even when she became ill and couldn't do that, we would always talk when I would visit. Okay, what did you see and what was it like? And have you seen this exhibit? Because she was keeping up with all of that. And it was a way in which Doreen expanded our lives. She helped us dream. She helped us go beyond where perhaps we were and we would have been. And she has done that for so many people. And yes, she could be difficult, and she could be ornery, like driving up into the country, and I had GPS, I was driving, but she was sure she knew the right route to go, of course, always. And I have some other stories about the walker, but that I'll save that, that's a little, I think that Doreen was able to meld and put together in her lifetime, and for many of us, here's the work that we do, here are the values that we hold, but here's how to fold towels and how to make a bed so that it looks like you ironed it, but you really didn't. And here's where to get those towels at the best price and where you would go to do that. She could put it all of that together. I think that we will all be asking ourselves for a very long time to come, okay, what would Doreen think about this situation and what would she say about this? And that is a legacy that we all have with her. Thank you.
All right, I don't see Gail Brewer. I think she's probably on Gail time, but she'll be here in a little while after she goes to 17 other things. So I'm going to instead invite Greg to come up. Greg Silverman, of course, the current CEO and Executive Director of WSCA, and a taller person.
Well, it's amazing to be here today, and we know Gail will be here soon. Greetings, and I just first want to say on behalf of the entire WSCA staff, the volunteers, board members, donors, customers, we're just so sorry to the whole Wohl family for your loss. And we say thank you to Doreen for who she is and will always be and what she's meant for feeding people in need all across this country. And we say thank you to everyone who's joined us here today. You know, under Doreen's leadership, WSCA truly transformed emergency feeding writ large in America. She led the creation, as you've heard, of the nation's first customer choice food pantry, added customers to the board of directors, and focused pantry volunteers around customer community and customer experience. When I first got to WSCA, there was 3 words I just kept hearing, and really it's 3 words that I think Doreen made happen for WSCA: dignity, community, and choice. Were, in a sense, created and grew and flourished under Doreen at WSCA. For those who don't know, the West Side Campaign Ends Hunger now serves about 110,000 New Yorkers in need every year. We give out about, probably this year, almost 6 million pounds of food, and over 50% of it is fresh produce, the best fresh produce you could get anywhere. And we serve customers at 86th Street at dozens of distribution points all across the city, and via thousands of home deliveries that are made each and every month mostly to new moms and senior citizens in need. We follow up with each and every customer as needed on benefits enrollment. We do all this by working hand in hand with and for our community. That's the work that Doreen that we drive forward. As many of you know, I'm Greg. I run the West Side Campaign Against Hunger, and I've been here for 8 years. And my background is as a restaurateur and chef. And so many years building teams and cooking food for customers and hot and dirty kitchens. So, as a chef, before I was allowed to take on the role as CEO, and I don't think many of the staff at Wisca know this, before I was able to take on the job at Wisca, the board of Wisca said I had to go and cook lunch with Doreen. So I went, and Doreen had not been she had retired 4 years before, and I was sent to Doreen's house to go cook lunch. I wasn't sure if I was cooking for her, if she was cooking for me. We were cooking together. And so anyway, as a chef, cooking is easy. I love to cook, and that's all I care about at Wisca is I want people to have the ability to cook amazing food for their families. And so, loving to cook and loving to learn, if I'm going to run Wisca, I wanted to hear from Doreen. This is great. And so we talked about choice, and we talked about community, and we talked about dignity. We talked about working with and as part of a community and not simply listening to any status quo voices that are out there. We spoke of being, in some sense, radical and transforming and changing systems, and not just little incrementalism and sort of innovations and playing around the edges. For those who were part of her push to create a choice model pantry, that was a radical break from the status quo food banking that existed in America. And we continue at Wisca to push that radical transformation in our sector. We sit here a day after MLK Day, and to me, I picked one quote: "Change doesn't roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle." That rings true as I think about Doreen. 7 years later from that first meeting with her for lunch last year, I was back at her home for lunch again, my friend Charlie, and we were interviewing her for our podcast. And although she had slowed down physically, the focus was the same: community first, and what was I doing to change systems? And it's so funny because over the past few years, a few people, I think it's only a few, in the public sector and some long-standing models of food banking and in the community think I've pushed Wisca and the emergency feeding sector too hard, and that I'm too focused on leadership, on advocacy and systems change, and that it's not Wisca. And I say then, you don't know Wisca, and more importantly, you don't know Doreen. So I and the entire Wisca team follow a well-worn path, and we're proud to follow in her powerful footsteps and continue to drive change forward. She pushed to give choice to customers and demand food banks to change. What's that mean? It means more produce. It means more choice for what foods people want. It means customers on board of directors. It means this choice model pantries. And we've taken her ethos and we pushed it, I'd say, even further in the idea of choice. We demand to see choice for every single emergency food provider. Every little pantry in America and beyond should have a choice of not just what the customers want, but what the organization wants to be able to do to be able to support and work with its community. What does that mean? It means direct dollars for pantries to be able to do what they want to get the foods that they know their customers want and need. It's one thing to have a choice of carrots or apples. It's another to find out what are the culturally appropriate foods each and every community wants, and making sure you have the dollars to not just take the scraps and the rotten food that people are choosing from, which is the ripe tomato. No, we want to have the best product because our customers deserve it. And so today, that's what I stand in front of you proud to be able to continue that work. Last week, I was in Albany speaking at a press conference before the governor's state of the state. And we were talking about the importance of feeding New Yorkers in need. And in some sense, I gave a short but quick eulogy of Doreen, because I was saying we can't stand here just talking about, can we get a few more, literally $1 million across the state? We need to make sure every group in this state has the necessary funds to do the work they need to do. And so Today I stand before you saying, right, if you love Doreen, then when you leave the room, you go back to your communities wherever you are, and you continue to do your part. Whatever the field of work you're in, whatever community activation you're involved in, whether you're in Los Angeles or London, whether you're in Ohio or you're in Staten Island or you're in the North Bronx, there's all work to do, and we all have some strength to share. And I think that's what I remember most from Doreen, is that she continued to have that strength day in and day out, and to share that, and we can all do that as well. So thank you. You know, I don't remember. I think the conversation, of course, was so pointed that I didn't get much time to think about that. I want to make two introductions. So we're going to have two other folks from our WISCA community, Haidet Tavira and Martina Santos, who are both going to speak. I'm just seeing who's speaking first, just so we're going to have Haidet is going to speak first, who's a long-standing member of the WISCA community, has been a staff member for many years, and is known for Doreen for many, many years. And after that, we're going to have Martina Santos, a board member of the West Side Campaign Against Hunger.
I'm sorry, I'm very, I said, and I'm very so happy to be here. Doreen's memories, thank you. I try to read my best. My name is Haidet Tavira. Let me put my glasses on. Today, I'm grateful to be able to share with you and remember Doreen Wohl. I have the privilege to have known Doreen for so many years now. I am thankful for the knowledge and experience she gave me. I started at WISCA as a customer around 1997. Then I went become to volunteer in the 2003, 2004, something like that. Along with my mom, my kids, and my other family members. In that time, I learned from her to nutrition, how to eat, and put the food on the tables. And also, I come in with my nephews, doing volunteer. And that time was my two kids, Amarilis and Ruth, and my two nephews, Francisco and Isai. That was like 8 years, something like that. After that, making a pause, I started to do volunteers because I got pregnant with my last daughter, Ruthie. She born in 2005. After she born, I'm coming here to do, again, volunteer. And I put my daughter in the stroller, I keep it in the office, and she growing here in WISCA. I started in WISCA in 2010. Doreen gave me the opportunity to work at WISCA under her supervision. She put me in a probation for 3 months. First one, because I was a single mother. And she think about it. As a single mother, maybe she couldn't come in because she need to take care of her kids. You know, when you have a little kids, it's hard coming here and working. But she gave me the opportunity to come in here and bring my daughter here. I leave my daughter at the school in kindergarten. She was near here in the 97. After living in there, I come in here to do my job. And she's really, remember her when she told me, no worries, you can do it. I worked under her supervision to do the inventory and ordering. She made me to take English class to learn to the basic. She was a great support to me and my family. as a mentor. Her kindness had always excuses, optimism and encouraged me when I needed and the most. She lived in the beautiful legacy and example to follow that, of which will carry on the both in my memory and my heart all the time. And I'm very happy to learn from her a lot of things, especially when she's very worried about the families and also the education for the kids. The first thing is the school for them, but when they go to school, they need to be fitting before go to school. Why? Because they say, okay, how you gonna go to school with the empty stomach? You have to feed them first. And the most is, all the time she asks me, how are you? You have a food in your home? I say, yes. Take whatever you need. And I say, okay, but healthy food. Does mean no junk food. So fresh fruit, fresh veggies. And all the time, also I learned from her, like, drink the coffee without sugar. And they say, you know what? When you take the pastries, that's your sugar. So you don't need no more. I say, okay, Doreen, thank you. And I learned that from there. And I keep it all the time in my mind. Now, I not drink sugar in my coffee and my tea. Thank you.
And now we're going to hear from Martina Santos, who is a board member of Westside Campaign Ends Hunger. And if you've ever volunteered at the Westside Campaign Ends Hunger, you've probably either volunteered with her or you've been fed by her. So come on up, Martina. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a hard time for me to be here and this memorial, because Doreen was for me a mother, sister, mentor. She showed me everything I know in the pantry. Doreen, when I came to Whisker, I'm in the deeply depression. She sit down and talking to me, and then she said, Martina, I see you. You don't doing good. I said, now, Doreen, I'm suffering from many depression. She do whatever mother they do with the loving child. So Martina, this is my hand, the right hand. All the time, I'm gonna take you out to that hole. Do you be in? Doreen, she asked me for my psychiatry phone number, my primary doctor. And one day I don't came to Whisker, and she told me by the next day, I need talking to you. Soon when you finish the kitchen, go to the office. And I went to the office and said, yes, Miss Doreen, I'm here. She said, sit over there. I'm gonna give it to you a choice. I said, what choice you gonna give me, Miss Doreen? I don't came yesterday because I have an appointment, and soon when I finished, I went home. You don't have to do that. You go into your appointment either way in the morning or in the afternoon. Oh, why, Miss Doreen? In the afternoon, after you finish here. You don't got a time when you get home to get depressed. Or you could do it in the morning. When you finish, you come in here. Say, okay, Miss Doreen, that's the deal. I'm gonna take the appointment in the morning. When I come in here, and after my appointment, I'm gonna take the first appointment in the morning, and I'm coming back here. And that's what I do every single day. I be here. She called me, she checked me like a mother. She checked me like a mother, and she do whatever to kick me out of my depression. The person who I am, Martina, today is thank God and Miss Doreen. Thank Carla and thank Michael and Doreen family to share your mother with me. Because I don't know how the skinny lady and short lady, she has a big heart, how she support that big heart she had in her body, how she care about people. First thing in the morning, she said, Martina, the thing you coming to do is put the coffee, tea, and pastries for people, but do not put sugar. When the people come and ask for sugar for you, tell them the pastries is the sugar. They don't need no sugar. I said, okay, Miss Doreen, we don't give it diabetes to no one. And Doreen said, okay, Martina, that's what we're gonna do. She fighting for the community. The first thing is when then she changed the form in the pantry, they have a lot of people to come in, you know, a lot of stranger people. And one day I said, Doreen, what it is? She said, those people, they coming to see my supermarket, my pantry supermarket. And you know how people feel powerful when they get the shopping cart and they think that they pay with a point card to people check like they was in the supermarket. I remember for Thanksgiving, Miss Susan, she's one of that lady. That's Miss Susan. No, I told her Miss Susan. She likes Miss Susan. Miss Susan, she's one of the lady with the turkey head. With the turkey hat. Make it accepting donation for the turkey. She care about everybody. She care about the homeless. She care about each customer. I never saw a lady like that. The first pantry they do, like supermarket, it was like a food bank, 116. And after food bank, I remember that's a Pop Park in the Bronx. And then that's another supermarket and another pantry do that. But you know what? I feel happy because her legacy over here in Huesca, they continue today. And I hope God they continue for long, long, long time because we're working together to fill the community, dignity, choice with our community. And I feel powerful today. Thank you, Mother, and thank God. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Martina. I see that I just heard from Gail Brewer, and she's down at City Hall because somebody, when he confirmed the date with Councilmember Brewer, put in the wrong number by mistake, and she thought it had been, we had moved the event, the memorial. Anyway, I take full responsibility, but I blame Donald Trump for distracting me. We have a few minutes, and so if anyone would feel moved to give a very short story or just even a word or phrase about Doreen, we certainly invite you. And then following a few of those memories, we'll invite you to a less formal time in the back of the sanctuary where we'll share some food and some further memories at more length. Anybody want to come up and give us a little quick word? Yes, come on up. Oh, Linda.
Thank you. Linda Barrington, I met Doreen in 1992, I think, because I came to SPSA just as she was coming in. Case at a word, I will give you two that I think captured Doreen for me, which is broken nose. She was in an altercation with one of the clients because she was loving, she was compassionate, she welcomed everyone, but she had her rules. And you couldn't come drunk and you couldn't come high. And she asked someone to leave, and they didn't want to leave, and they broke her nose. And to her, though, I mean, I was like, oh my God, she's gonna quit. And it was, no, that's like, that was part of the job, right? It was just that much commitment, but also there was almost a second altercation because of the people who came to her aid when she was punched by this client. So, all of the things about Doreen, she is one of those people who represent that people come in packages, and you get the whole package. And all the times she might have been frustrating to work with, and she had her rules, she was also someone who got punched in the nose, and that was part of the job and didn't deter her. So that is what I think of Doreen, having that kind of commitment and dedication and passion. So thank you all for sharing her with us over these years.
My name is Stefan Russo. I'm the former executive director of Goddard Riverside Community Center. Michael, I just got off the plane about an hour ago from Boca, visiting my own family. Hoping that I could be here. And I was watching in the backseat of the taxi just a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago, the video. And your beautiful remarks, you and Carla, beautiful remarks. And I just dropped my stuff and put on a sport jacket and ran over. But I will tell you two things. Sort of two memories that really epitomize your wonderful mother and someone who really impacted both my life personally and professionally. So you can imagine being a 26-year-old green behind the ears or wet behind the ears youth worker. And imagine riding in a car in the back seat, going up to Goddard Riverside Camp in Riften, New York, and I knew very little. And imagine what it's like sitting in the back seat with Bernie and Doreen in the front seat, and the conversations that went on between the two of them as we were riding up to camp. I have to tell you that it was, I learned so much, obviously, both from Bernie and certainly so much from Doreen. It was quite a lesson and stuff. It was really, really something. And the second memory that I have was when Goddard Riverside took over St. Matthew and St. Timothy, and we took over what was WEME, which was the West End Ecumenical Council for the Elderly Home Delivered Meals Program, right down in the basement. And of course, who was running WISCA at the time? Well, it was Doreen Wohl. And what did Doreen want? Doreen wanted the Home Delivered Meals Program. And I remember very carefully, I said, look, Doreen, you and I've got to talk. But I'm going to say one thing, and I know how tough your mother was, but she was very respectful in that way of me. I said, Doreen, you cannot have the Home Delivered Meals Program. Goddard Riverside Community Center is going to run that home, and Father Kerr remembers that Home Delivered Meals Program. But there was a tremendous amount of love, mutual respect, and I will really miss her greatly. She really, really had an impact on my life. Thank you.
We have time for maybe a couple more if anybody feels the urge. Yeah, come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Grimaldi, the Executive Director of the New York Common Pantry. And I did not expect to be here today, or to be up here today. I knew I was coming, without a doubt, to honor Doreen. I had the opportunity to work with Doreen for a number of years. I've been at the pantry now for 16 years. I've had the honor to work with Greg and the legacy that he's carried, Doreen's legacy. The words that come to mind when I think of Doreen are fierce, fighter. She was a force, an absolute force of nature. Two quick stories. I remember the first time we came together, different emergency feeding organizations, and she had called together a meeting here to all the nonprofits that were funded by Robin Hood. And we were talking about contracts and some of the deliverables and some of the metrics and some of the pricing, sort of the precursor to collective purchasing, some of the things that she was very passionate about, getting the best possible prices. She came with all these spreadsheets. It's very, so she organized it and she said, should we continue to do this? And I was like, absolutely. And she looked over and said, great, you're organizing the next one at the New York Common Pantry in a month. I was like, executive director's not used to being told what to do, but clearly she was powerful. So another great story, and actually it's a true story and something I've never actually said before. But Doreen was the force behind, one of the forces behind the New York Common Pantry becoming a choice pantry. For those of you who may go back many, many years, you may remember that while we were serving many, many people and millions of meals every year, we were not a choice pantry. We were pre-packaging these bags of food. And I remember a gentleman, one of our participants, coming down the street with a bag, one of our participants, our guests, coming down the street with a bag of food, and he was returning bags of peanut butter because he didn't eat peanut butter. He wasn't allergic, he just didn't like peanut butter. And he was returning it because we had given him, week after week, we had given him peanut butter. And I told that story, and Doreen said, your board will never allow you to turn into a choice pantry. You already tried that. I was like, wow, she just challenged me to turn our pantry into a choice pantry. And she said, it's not gonna happen. So I was proud about 6 months later to tell her that we had become a choice pantry because I was not going to be outdone by Doreen Wohl. No, but I loved her. I really respected her. She was absolutely a force, and we will miss her. So thank you, Doreen.
Maybe one more, if there is one more. Yeah, come on up.
I'm Fern Estro, and Fern Gail Estro, as most people know me. And Doreen and I got to know each other because she wanted a nutritionist engaged in the pantry. And I was the first. I worked with a woman by the name of Marcella Friel, who was a chef. We met through Share Our Strength. Greg and I go back a lot of different programs. We kind of moved along. Doreen, change agent. And I don't want to say was. We worked on spreadsheets using computers through Robin Hood, funds that she got. She fought. She was going to get the food bank to get better food. She was going to get the commodities program to reduce the choice of product they purchased, so in terms of sodium. She was going to look at health and flavor. I'm a former restaurateur. So a nutritionist and restaurateur, great combination. I love food. And Doreen changed the practices of the government, of the food pantry. And she was known through USDA as being the Cadillac of food pantries. So when one thinks of Doreen, I think change agent is a really good term to associate with her. I miss her. I haven't seen her in a while, but she taught me an incredible amount. She was always willing to listen. Again, may not have agreed with you, but she would listen. And then sometimes she changed.
Thanks, Vern. Yes, Doreen still has me reading labels before I purchase anything at the grocery store. So we're inviting our wonderful quartet up here to play us one more thing, and then we'll invite you all to come in and have some, I'm sure, very, very healthy Doreen-approved food for our reception.